When you walk into a forest, you think you're walking into a community of trees. The trees look like the main event. Tall, solid, alive. Everything else looks like decoration. The moss, the soil, the leaves underfoot. This is exactly backwards. The trees are guests. The network was here first, and it decides who gets to stay. Take a single teaspoon of forest soil. Hold it in your hand. Inside it, there are more living organisms than there are humans who have ever existed on Earth. Most of it is one thing: fungus. Threads called hyphae, finer than human hair, woven through every cubic centimeter of soil under your feet. They are colorless, almost invisible, and they are everywhere. Stitched together, the fungal network under a single forest can stretch for thousands of miles. It has no center, no brain, no hierarchy, and it has been doing this for 400 million years. That's longer than trees, longer than leaves, longer than wood itself. 400 million years ago, plants tried to leave the water and climb onto land. They failed. For millions of years, they kept failing. The land was bare rock. There were no nutrients they could absorb. They had no roots. Roots hadn't evolved yet. The plants that crawled out of the oceans starved within feet of the shoreline. But the fungi were already there. The fungi had spent another billion years before that learning one specific trick. They had learned to dissolve stone, to pull minerals out of rock and hold them. And then something happened that changed the surface of the planet. A deal was struck, not consciously, chemically. The fungus would feed the plant minerals it could not reach. The plant would feed the fungus sugar it could not make. Neither could survive alone. Together, they could colonize an entire continent. Every forest you have ever walked through is the result of that exchange. No alliance, no trees. No trees, no forests. No forests, no us. For a long time, scientists assumed the network was passive infrastructure. Pipes, plumbing, a system that simply moved nutrients from one place to another. It isn't. A tree that is dying sends sugars outward through the network in its final weeks, feeding strangers it will never meet, feeding the next generation of trees that haven't grown yet. A tree being eaten by insects releases warning chemicals into the fungal threads. Trees connected to the same network, sometimes hundreds of meters away, start producing defensive compounds before the insects reach them. The warning arrives ahead of the threat. The fungus chooses who gets what. It cuts off trees that take more than they give. It favors species that pay better in sugar. Two trees standing next to each other can receive completely different treatment from the same network underneath them. And in 1997, a researcher named Suzanne Simard at the University of British Columbia documented something that changed how scientists understood the entire system. The network can recognize family. A mother tree, an older tree at the center of the network, routes more resources to its own offspring than to unrelated saplings. It can identify its own kin chemically through the fungal threads. It feeds them preferentially. When it is dying, it dumps everything it has left into them before it goes. The network isn't helping the forest. The forest is the network's strategy. We name forests by their trees: oak forest, pine forest, redwood, birch. We don't name them by what's underneath. But if you could pull back the soil, if you could see what was actually alive in a forest, the trees would not be the forest. They would be a thin layer of green on top of something much larger, much older, much quieter. A network that was negotiating with plants before there were animals to watch. It is still negotiating. You are walking on it right now. When you walk into a forest, you think you're walking into a community of trees. You're not. You're walking across the surface of an organism so old it watched the first plants try to climb out of the water and decided which ones got to stay. Subscribe and like for more interesting stories on the world and everything on it.